Hi, this is Polly from thefitmumformula.com. Today I'm going to be talking about food combining and whether you should be avoiding pairing certain foods together for optimal health or avoiding certain food combinations. Now, the food combining diet itself, which is sort of a set diet, is based on the premise that certain foods do not digest at the same rate as other foods, and so for optimal digestion you want to avoid these clashes because otherwise it confuses your stomach and it confuses your digestive system. Now the idea that different foods digest at different rates is very true, very accurate. Proteins and fats digest slower than carbohydrates on the whole. Higher fibre foods digest slower than lower fibre foods. The consistency of foods will affect how quickly or slowly or how well it's digested, whether it's smooth, whether it's a puree, whether it's a liquid like a drink or a soup, or whether it's chunky or whether it's very crunchy. All of those things affect digestion. The acidity or alkalinity of a food will affect the speed it's digested. And then also your stomach environment, so regardless of what the food is or when you're eating it, the state of your actual stomach and gut. So the idea of, that the food combining diet is based on is that you shouldn't eat certain foods together because it creates this conflict of confusion. And for example, things like fruit should be eaten on an empty stomach before other foods because they're digested a lot more quickly, so you want to get those out of the way, otherwise they stay in your stomach and ferment and stay in there longer than they should do. Now, logically it sort of makes sense, doesn't it? If different foods digest at different rates, it makes sense to try and get this in order and eat foods, not mix the wrong types of foods together and eat foods at certain times, because that way it takes the pressure off your digestive system and everything runs like clockwork, runs in order, and it makes sense. But here's the thing, your body is actually really, really clever, and it can actually deal with digesting different types of foods at the same time. It's very able to deal with that, it's very able to deal with a mix of foods. And whereas one of the main things that's talked about is fruit that should be eaten on an empty stomach on this protocol, actually all types of foods digest at slightly different rates. So if you were going to do this way of eating absolutely optimally, you had to eat every single type of food individually, which would be very, very difficult, and you'd be eating all day because you'd have to wait for one food to go through your system before eating the next one. It would be a constant kind of cycle of what's the next food to eat. So on a practical level, it would be completely ridiculous as well. But on a health level, your body can actually deal with this very, very well. And your body can digest all sorts of foods. Now, if you're having digestive problems, if you're having indigestion, bloating, constipation or diarrhea, any other kind of digestive complaints, heartburn, that kind of thing, it might indicate that there is some sort of digestive problem going on there, some sort of IBS string, whether it's not enough stomach acid or stomach acid leaking into places where it shouldn't. Maybe you not producing the right amount of digestive enzymes to break down your food. Maybe you've just eaten your meal too quickly, or you've been stressed and you've eaten it without chewing it properly. There are many, many reasons why you might not be digesting your food quite right, and that's going to cause symptoms. But the idea that the problem and the cause is that you're combining foods that shouldn't be combined just doesn't have any science to back it up whatsoever. So don't worry about it, don't worry about mixing your foods. Focus on the actual quality and content of your meals, and that might mean not mixing certain things because it doesn't add up nutritionally. Maybe you don't need 5 different types of fat on your plate. Maybe you can just have a little bit of avocado on your salad and that'll do, rather than avocado, olive oil, nuts, whatever else. Maybe it's more about the nutritional reasons and to have an overall balanced meal that you would have or not have certain things. But it's not about digestion. If you were to, for whatever reason, to eat a meal that had loads of fat but not many carbs, or vice versa, it's not going to affect digestion. Your body is able to digest that food. So don't worry about it from a food combining point of view. Just try and make sure your meals are optimal from a nutritional point of view, and that they're making you feel good and they're helping you reach your goals. Okay, I hope that was helpful. That's Polly from thefitmumformula.com.